Hi everyone, Layne here, realtor in the Grand Strand area of South Carolina. That's the greater Myrtle Beach area. Thank you so much for joining us for this series. This series is Get Out of Your Lane. It is about stepping outside your comfort zone in order to experience growth. We all have things that we're familiar with doing on a day-to-day basis, and we can kind of stuck in a rut. Well, if you can just step outside that comfort zone, that can lead to more flexibility in thinking, more flexibility in being, and to a greater quality of life and growth. So we are very happy to have you here for actually our very first episode in this series, Get Out of Your Lane. And I am so happy to present to you our guest, Christopher Wills. Christopher is a friend and actually a neighbor, but he is like the perfect example of someone who has gotten out of his lane to experience growth. Christopher spent some time in Afghanistan, and he had some traumatic experiences there, and he has moved on and gotten on with his life with his beautiful wife, and he really did get out of his comfort zone to heal to the point that he is now. When he got out of the VA hospital, as is so typical, he was on a lot of medications. He was still experiencing a lot of trauma and a lot of pain. And at a certain point, he just decided he didn't want to live his life in such a limited way. And he went and found the opportunity to do equine therapy. That is a healing modality using horses. So equine is horses, equine therapy. So I'm gonna let Christopher talk to you a little bit about that, and actually going, just kind of jumping forward a little bit, because equine therapy was such a wonderful thing for Christopher. In the words of his wife, "You're the man I married again." How awesome is that? So Christopher has started Grand Strand Healing with Horses, Horses Healing Heroes, Grand Strand Horses Healing Heroes. And he's going to talk to us a little bit more about his experience. And then we're going to ask Christopher to go outside his comfort zone again. And I'm going to teach him yoga. It's going to be his first yoga class. It's one more healing modality that recovering vets can use, or that anyone can use. But you're gonna witness Christopher going outside his comfort zone, stepping outside his lane. So Christopher, go ahead. I've already said your name and who you are, but go ahead and restate your name, who you are, and your organization and what you're about.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Layne, for having me today. Mm-hmm. My name is Christopher Wills. I am a Navy veteran. I served on active duty for 8 years, from 2008 to 2016. I did one deployment to Afghanistan in 2011. I was injured over there. So I've come a long way from where I started when I medically retired in 2016 to where I am today. And I really found an alternative treatment modality to Western medicine, and being with horses has really helped me overcome some of the challenges that I've experienced with post-traumatic stress disorder. So that's when I decided to start my nonprofit, Grand Strand Horses Healing Heroes. We are excited that all the veterans and their families are free of charge. There's no expenses to the families, to the veterans. We just want to help veterans have a better life and an alternative treatment modality.
Fantastic. And so Christopher, why don't you just tell us a little bit about what a session might look like for someone who comes to you for a session?
Right, so typically there will be an intake with the mental health provider, and we want to get a baseline for where that veteran is at mentally, and how severe the PTSD or other mental health problems, or even physical problems that they have. And that'll give us a nice baseline to expand upon. But the therapy, the treatment sessions, are with the horse, the mental health provider, and myself. So there's an equine specialist and a mental health specialist. We're there for safety, but the veteran will be interacting with the horse. And so the horse provides some wonderful feedback for the veteran. Is they're able to tell their story to that horse in a safe, non-judgmental zone. And that horse is a direct representation of how they're feeling it. Horses, domesticated horses will synchronize their heartbeats.
Yeah, that was amazing when you told me that.
They synchronize their heartbeats to us if you're within 4 feet. So if you're feeling anxious, that horse is feeling anxious, depressive, nervous, whatever the case is, that horse is feeling what you're feeling.
So the horse is empathetic.
Absolutely.
To the veteran.
Absolutely. And so having that as a mirror image, you don't need to have somebody saying, well, hey, you're feeling anxious. That horse is showing you. So the sessions usually run about 45 minutes.
Okay.
And I've seen all emotions, from crying to happy, and so many people want to continue the program. Right now we're doing 2 sessions a week.
Okay.
For 8 weeks.
Gotcha.
And at the 4-week mark, we will do another DSM-5 to check the progress. And then at the 8-week mark, then we reevaluate and see how the person has progressed since day one, and the 4-week mark, and once they graduate our program.
Okay.
To see the wonderful benefits that they're doing.
Fantastic. Sounds like there's a lot of checks and balances, a lot of support. Would a veteran ever ride the horse?
So under the EAGALA training model, we are all ground-based work.
Okay.
So we do the grooming, we do the therapeutic interaction with the horse and the veteran. There is opportunity for therapeutic riding, but that would be outside of our therapy session.
Okay.
But our nonprofit would sponsor the therapeutic riding.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Just to have your emotions mirrored back to you with this great beast. And it's so people who have experienced trauma, regardless of the kind of trauma, they tend to distance their mind from their bodies. And so what I'm hearing is that this is a really great way to integrate for the human being to integrate themselves again with the help of this magnificent, empathetic animal in a completely emotionally risk-free environment.
Absolutely.
So I applaud you for your work. I'm learning. So I've been a yoga teacher and yoga therapist for a long time. I was unfamiliar with equine therapy before Christopher. I'm very excited that he's bringing it to the Grand Strand, and I plan on promoting you on every possible venue that I can. So thank you. And then so now Chris and I are going to move over to the yoga mat, and you're going to see Chris once again stepping outside his comfort zone. And I'm happy to say it is a modality that is nice for trauma survivors as well.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
And here we are on the mat. Thank you again, Christopher, for being such a good sport on Get Out of Your Lane. He's already done equine therapy, and he is once again stepping out of his lane to explore another healing modality, the healing modality of yoga. So yoga is a modality that integrates the mind, the body, and spirituality. And don't get too hung up on the spirituality. That's just, connected to something larger than yourself. So many of us today, whether we are trauma survivors or not, we're very much in our heads. We're on our phones all the time. We're worried about something in the future. We are regretting something in the past. If we can just come into the present moment and become aware of our breath, it's very calming. And medical research has borne out that when you breathe calmly and you're in the present moment and are in your body, cortisol levels drop, blood pressure drops. It just puts you in a much better state of mind, and that is a great place to deal with life from. It's very strengthening from a mental and emotional point of view. And then when you have something extra thrown in there, like a trauma you've experienced, you know, maybe a bombing in Afghanistan, that might do it. There's an extra reason, an extra call to action to explore and learn every healing modality that might be of service to you, that gives you the choice. You know, you may not have had, whatever your trauma was, you may not have had any choice in that moment when it happened, but you do have choice about your treatment modalities, and even what you're doing within that treatment modality. So Christopher and I were just talking, and we were getting him seated on his blankets, and I wasn't really going to demonstrate this for you guys, but I am, because it relates to how you sit on a horse, because we're talking about how therapeutic it is to work with a horse. And for a lot of us, including me, that's a new concept. So actually, go ahead and sit on your blankets the way you were before. So I have blankets stacked up because, you know, Chris is a little tight, like so many of us if we're not doing yoga on a regular basis. And you can kind of see, like, he's kind of working a little bit to stay upright. But if he scooches forward, so yoga teachers call them sits bones, but right at the base of your pelvis are your ischial tuberosities. I know there's lots of doctors and nurses and all watching this, and it drives you crazy when we say sits bones, but we say sits bones. So you scoot forward a little bit, so your sits bones are just kind of over that folded edge of your blanket, and you kind of reach those sits bones down, and then you just kind of rise up your spine, up to the crown of your head. And in the words of Chris a few minutes ago when I led him into this, he goes, oh, there it is. You'll feel it when you get there. And so from this space, that opens your heart. And I'll just kind of demonstrate, you stay there. I'll demonstrate that again. So scoot it back on the blanket, your body wants to sort of tilt forward, your chin jut forward a little bit, and your shoulders round forward. When you scoot forward just a little bit, sits bones cascading over the front edge of your blanket, reach the sits bones down, rise up through the crown of your head, and just, you can see how our shoulders and our hearts open, and that gets you ready for breath. So, and Chris compared this is how you have to ride on a saddle. Because if you don't find this, you get beaten up. Is that what you said? You kind of get beaten up by the pounding?
That's right. So if you're not using your seat bones correctly,
yeah,
you're actually putting yourself in an incorrect posture on the horse.
Yeah.
And so with improper breathing and improper use of your seat bones, you're actually bouncing up and down instead of going with the flow of the horse and the natural movement. You're actually causing the horse a little bit of pain too.
Oh, really? Yeah, so that's another way the horse gives you such fantastic feedback on what you're doing with your body. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on breath. Breath is very important. We don't pay attention to it. We just don't on a regular basis. A lot of us kind of tense our bellies and hold our breaths. Our muscles tend to be tensed as a result as well. And that gives you a feeling of being kind of anxious and kind of grumpy throughout the day is what that leads to. So go ahead, Chris, if you would, just place your palms on your thighs. And then, are you comfortable closing your eyes? Mm-hmm. Go ahead and close your eyes. Any of you that are doing this, if you're not comfortable closing your eyes, if that doesn't feel safe, you can just look down as far as you can. Okay, so then I'll close my eyes too. And so just palms on the thighs, and then begin noticing your breath, Chris. Just notice the rising of your belly on the inhale and the dropping of the belly on the exhale. And again, just let your attention be on your breath. Notice the rising of the belly on the inhale and the dropping of the belly on the exhale. And do that again. Notice the expansion of the belly on the inhale and the retraction of the belly on the exhale. Now go ahead and notice the expansion of the belly on the next inhale, and see if you can take that inhale into your ribs. Allow the expansion of the rib cage, like let it expand as though there's a balloon under there, and there is. It's called your lungs. And then exhale all the way out till you push out the last bit of breath. And do that again. Inhale, belly and rib cage expanding. Exhale, letting go of all that air, all that breath. One more time. Inhale, belly and rib cage expanding. And exhale all the way out. Again, inhale, belly, breath, rib cage, and back of rib cage. Exhale. Inhale again, belly, rib cage, and back of rib cage. Exhale all the way out. Just let the rest of that air be pushed out. And one more of those. Inhale, belly, rib cage, back of rib cage. Inhale. Exhale the air all the way out. Perfect. Now just keep breathing naturally and normally. You're not trying to do anything special. Both hands on the thighs. Bring attention to the tops of the shoulders. Relax the shoulders away from the ears. Notice the palms of the hands on your thighs. Shoulders are relaxed. Arms relaxed. The weight of the hands is supporting the weight of the arms. Now go ahead and just gently open your eyes. Notice the softness of your shoulders, the relaxation of the arms, and the weight of the palms on your thighs. Great. So you're in your body, the breath is full and soft, and you're aware. Go ahead and come onto your hands and knees. Beautiful. Okay, and you have the palms of your hands on the floor. Wonderful. Spread your fingers wide like a starfish. And if you notice, your palms are kind of square. And just imagine that the palms of your hands are rooting into your mat. So underneath your index finger, pinky finger, and on either side of your wrist. So you have roots growing out of the four corners of the palms of your hands. Let your knees be about hip width apart. Good. And just feel this pose, this tabletop. You have your knees on the floor, your palms rooted into the floor. Excellent. And now we're gonna go into cat pose. It's gonna be like a Halloween cat. So you're gonna let your head drop. I'm gonna need to get a little bit in front of you so you can see me. You're gonna let your head drop, and you're gonna raise the middle of your back toward the sky, and you're gonna tuck your tailbone under, and you're just going to root your hands into the floor. The middle of the back rises, the head drops, the neck is relaxed. And now you're gonna come back to tabletop. And from here, you're going to let your belly hammock toward the earth. and your tailbone rises and the crown of your head rises. Now we're going to connect this with breath. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow, and that's where the belly is hammocking toward the earth, as though you kind of imagine you have an udder on your belly, crown of the head rises toward the sky. Exhale, cat, the middle of the spine rises, the tail tucks under, the head drops. Inhale, cow, head rises, belly hammocks toward the earth. And let's do that one more time. Exhale, cat, middle of this, so right here, raise that toward the sky. Beautiful. And now inhale, crown of the head rises, belly hammocks toward the earth, tailbone comes up. See if you can get real heavy right here. Good. And now just come back to tabletop. Beautifully done. So you connected the body with the breath. And now see if you can tuck your toes under and come into a squat. We didn't practice this at all, so it's just like you're coming to my first class. Beautiful. And what I'm going to do is put a rolled up blanket underneath your heels. Bring your feet wider apart. Okay. And this is what you're going toward. You're going toward a squat. So the knees are apart and your hands in between. See if you can do, I'm going to move the blanket. You might not need it. Let me see. Do your feet a lot wider apart. Okay. How is that on your knees?
Good.
Good. Now what you're going to do is kind of just you can kind of look forward and just bring your palms together. It's hard to know what to do with your hands. And just let your low back and your tailbone drop toward the earth. And just let your gaze be over the tops of your fingertips. Find that belly, rib cage, back of the rib cage breath again. And imagine that you're directing breath to your low back. Chris had an accident on his horse Silver a few months ago, and he's got a little low back stuff going on. I haven't had a horse accident. I've had a back bend yoga accident, and so I have low back issues too. So this is so great for the low back. So just breathe. Where are you feeling this? Are you feeling your shins right now? Mm-mm. Good. And let that tailbone drop. Take the breath into the low back. And if you notice, we're giving this enough time so your body can relax and fully engage in the pose. In the West, we just want to move so fast. Like, okay, I did this for 2 seconds, time to move into another pose. Give it some time and some breath. Very nice. And now we're just going to come into sitting. So just watch out, there's just blankets behind you, but go ahead and come into sitting. I'm actually going to put you on your back. So come sit right here in the middle. Okay, and then lay all the way on your back. And we're gonna do a twist. Okay, so go ahead and bend your knees and put your feet on the floor. Good. And spread your arms out wide. And let them relax into the floor. And just kind of bring your knees towards your chest and then let your legs fall to the left. And we're gonna see how this goes. Okay, okay, does that hurt anything?
No, not really.
Okay, go ahead and let this leg drop to the blanket. I'm putting this here in case his groins are tight. And see how his shoulder's coming off the floor. So do a nice inhale. And exhale, see if you can exhale that shoulder to the floor. Now, if any of you are yoga teachers and you're working with people with PTSD, sometimes they're touch defensive. You can't touch them like this. But Chris is not touch defensive. We already had that discussion. How are you doing?
Okay.
I feel like you're struggling. Look towards your right thumb. In yoga, at no time should you be in pain. If you're ever in pain, you just stop and do something else, and you always have the choice of what you do. If Chris said, I don't want to do this, Layne, you'd be like, fine, you don't have to do this. He doesn't need my permission not to do this. Okay, inhale. Exhale. How's your back?
That's good.
Okay. Good. Now, inhale your knees up. And put your feet on the floor. Good. And now I'm going to come over here. And bring your knees almost to your chest, but not quite. And go ahead and let your legs come to the right. Yeah. Good job. So inhale. And this exhale, soften the back. Let the legs be heavy. Is anything pinching? Okay, I'm going to put a blanket under this arm. Look towards your left thumb. His knees coming up just because his back is tight. So inhale and exhale. Just soften your throat. Good. Soften your back. And release the shoulders. Very nice. And go ahead and bring your knees back to the middle. Good. And go ahead and let your legs come all the way back down to the floor. And I would say a twist can be one of the scariest poses to ever try for the first time, because if you watch a baby play, it's like yoga is taking you back to when you were a baby or a toddler. I mean, you can watch them. They'll pick their feet up and chew on their toes, or they'll go into twists. They crawl. They'll put their head on the floor. And so yoga is just taking you back to your earlier days before we had all these feelings trapped in our bodies that make us stiff. Okay, so now I'm gonna have you bend this knee and put the foot on the floor. And then I'm gonna have you bend this knee and put the ankle on this knee. Perfect. He's like a natural. Put your ankle outside your knee. Good. And now what you're gonna do is you're gonna pick this foot up off the floor, bringing the thigh more towards your belly. Okay, good. And take this hand and grab behind that thigh. Very good, right? Okay, I'm gonna put a blanket behind your head. Breathe, you're holding your breath. Okay, and that is that as far as you can bring this in? So where he is feeling the stretch is in his right hip. He is stretching his piriformis. For so many of us, our piriformis is very tight. Our piriformis gets tight from sitting in chairs. Our bodies were not made to sit in chairs. When you go into other cultures, in Asian cultures, Near East and Far East both, they sit on the floor. They don't have tight piriformises. They don't have tight hips. We're not made to sit in chairs. And then when you add to it, a lot of us do things like running, which makes a piriformis even tighter. Okay, so go ahead. So if anyone wanted to take this pose further, what am I laying on? Oh, I told the cameraman I wasn't gonna lay on my back and I'm doing it, but you can do that off the floor. Okay, go ahead and uncross that ankle. Put it on the floor, and now just switch sides. So go ahead and don't force it. He's just like, and so Chris really doesn't need to bring his foot off the floor at all. What you can do is take this hand and push this knee forward just a little bit, and see how that gives you a little bit more stretch in the piriformis. All right, you can't see his face when he's like, oh yeah. Yeah, so if you need to, just keep that one foot on the floor, just push the knee forward a little bit, and when the time comes that you need more stretch, well then you can pick that foot up off the floor and bring the knee towards your belly. Breathe. You're gonna wanna hold your breath when you go into these new poses and you're finding that therapeutic discomfort of the stress. You will want to hold your breath. So purposely find that belly, rib cage, back, rib cage breath, and relax the shoulders and the throat. Very nice. And just go ahead and uncross those ankles, the ankle from the knee. Very good. And just stretch your legs straight out. And now he's gonna do just a little bit of the final pose. So just let your palms face up. And that opens your heart. It rotates your shoulders back a little bit and allow your eyes to close if you're comfortable doing that. And now you're just going to relax your entire body. So you're just gonna relax the feet. Yeah, did you guys, I don't know if you guys could see that or not. Relax the knees. So often we're holding tension in our bodies and we have no idea we are, but we are. Relax hips. Soften belly. Relax chest. And then soften the right arm. He didn't even know. He thought he had his whole body relaxed. Soften the left arm. Soften throat. And soften the skin around the ears. Soften skin around the eyes. So this final pose, the English word for it is corpse pose. But it's said to be the most important pose in your yoga practice. This is where the breath and the body and the consciousness integrate and just flow together. Well, thank you for joining us for this episode of Get Out of Your Lane. I'm gonna let Chris stay here for a minute, relaxed. And when this video ends, you will see, of course, my name and contact information. You will see Christopher's name, organization, and contact information. He would very much appreciate you spreading the word so veterans can benefit from Grand Strand, Horses Healing Heroes, and also donations are needed. Right now they're 100% donation based. It'll be about 6 months or so once they gather some data that they can start applying for grants just from a very practical perspective. Thank you for your time.